Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Our fishing reel project of the day is an Ambassadeur 6600 CB with a note from its owner, Jeremy, that said, "I tried." And, well, we're stuck. So I guess Jeremy got stuck there. And, well, we're going to see if we can unstick it and put it back the way it should be. Well, this is a fishing reel service and repair video. If you like service and repair videos, I'm going to ask that you subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please use that notification button. It will show you when I'm posting videos, and I post on all kinds of fishing reels. And well, you'll be able to see if it's one that you like and if you'd like to learn more about it. And I would encourage you to do that. I thank all the folks that have subscribed to the channel. You're what keeps it vibrant. So we're taking off the exterior pieces and parts to start, and the first thing I removed was the retention cap, which is held on by a screw, then the handle nut. Now we have an E-clip that sits on top of the post, and I'm going to just kind of pry that out. And while I do that, I'm going to hold to one side of it so that it doesn't shoot, and that's why you see the glove on my hand here. It's kind of catching the backstop of this because I don't want to lose this clip. Kind of hard to find when you do lose them, but that's the clip we just removed. That holds the gear sleeve onto the shaft of the bridge, and it enables it to hold down all of the pieces and parts in the drag assembly. This reel looks relatively new, but something is clearly wrong with it because it's not turning. We're going to remove the star adjuster next. We do that by backing it off in a counterclockwise manner. To those of you that are wondering what that is, it means turn it towards you. There's 3 thumb screws here, tensioners. They hold the reel case onto the side plate. And once you break the screw, you can kind of twirl the screw off with your fingers. You don't need to continue to use the screwdriver there. There's 3 screws and there's 1 post. That post is over here. That's going to help you align the side case. With those 3 screws removed, we can remove the side plate. That's going to hold the axle shaft. Will come out with that a lot of times, and it does because there's this little retention clip here. So just remove the retention clip, put it back into the cap, and then you can remove the axle shaft from this side. The axle shaft goes to the spool. The spool has 2 bearings in it, so you should be able to remove this piece to oil the bearing behind it. And then on this side we have the bearing as well. And well, that bearing just came out because it wanted to say hello to everybody. So hello, I'm going to put the bearing back in, and we can take the little click ratchet and put that in as well. Clean off your axle shaft. Check the back end. This is all very clean, so you really don't need to do much there. Just turn your idler gear to make sure that your pawl and line guide assembly and everything is working correctly, which it is. Now remember, this thing was stopped, so we don't know why it was stopped, so test everything. I'm going to just remove the pawl cap right now. And once, good practice is probably to get this off the table. I'm going to put that into my parts tray, and all the pieces and parts that I removed do go into that parts tray. Well, Ambassadeur has a lot of variations on themes, but internally there's only a few little differences depending on the generation. So I'll be interested to see what generation this one is. I think it's the latest generation that uses the fixed spring for the retention. And what I've just done there is I've taken off the line guide assembly, and boy, there's an awful lot of stuff on that edge of the pawl there. And I don't know if that's the cause. Probably not. It's probably just old grease and junk and the like. But sometimes tracking of the pawl can be the cause of the reel getting stuck. So you want to make sure you clean the shoulders on the pawl, and use a paper towel and a pick to make sure they're clean. and inspect the 2 points. They need to be equal, they need to be sharp. And then underneath here, well, you can wipe that down, a little spray of penetrating oil onto the worm gear. Hold your paper towel and then turn your idler gear. That will turn the worm gear and you'll get all that dirt off of the worm gear. Once that is off, put a little bit of oil into the channel for that pawl. Reseat the pawl by placing it into the cavity of the line guide. And now that's not seated there, it's sitting too proud, so hold pressure on that. Turn the worm gear until it seats down. And you'll know it seats down when it pulls it in. There you go. So now it's pulled in. That's the proper height for the line guide and pawl assembly. Then go ahead and grab your pawl cap. Put that back on next, and then we'll go over and see what's tied down inside the main gear assembly. Take your time. Patience is important. When I first started doing all of this, an old-timer, now I'm an old-timer I guess, but an old-timer gave me advice. He said the only thing you really need to do real repair is patience and a sense of humor. I guess he meant the ability to laugh at yourself because you are going to make mistakes from time to time. Alright, that line guide's working fine now. We'll take the spool assembly, we'll put that inside, get that out of the way. And I'd like to make sure that the brakes are off here, because when you go to reset the gear side, these have to fit inside of a race. Let's get underneath here and see how Jeremy tried. There's 2 screws that hold that on. One on each side. They're Phillips head screws. Take the time to remove them. And the first thing I like to do, I know this reel, but first thing I like to do on these reels is to take any side plate screws I'm taking off and make sure they're the same size. There's countless examples of fishing reels where the manufacturers have put different screws in different places on the reel. You need to mark those. Take the pictures as you open this up, and let's see what's going on here. And quite honestly, I don't see anything really significant here, so I wonder what happened there. I don't know. I guess when we go back to put it together, we'll find out. It's possible that those brakes were trapped in this race here. That's the race I was referring to. That would stop a reel. Okay, this is the newest version of the reel and the latest in terms of their free spool tensioning system and release system. So let's remove the spring. It's the tie-down spring. Still not seeing anything wrong with it. We'll remove that whole gear sleeve now. That's what was being held on by the E-clip. Now we're going to remove the yoke and pinion gear assembly. That's correctly oriented. We're going to take the trip lever mechanism off, and we will take the trip bar off itself. It's just a little bit of cleaning that needs to go on here. I'm going to wipe it off with a paper towel. There doesn't seem to be anything of any consequence here. And I was looking for this. There's a little brass washer that's on the bottom of that gear stack. You need to make sure that that washer is on. And it is. Alright, well, these pieces and parts are pretty clean. So let's show you how to assemble this then. You can put a light coating of grease onto that main assembly where those pieces are going to travel. Don't put too much in it. Probably will dry down over time, and that'll just be nothing but problems. We want to take the bar that's going to connect the trip lever. One side goes to the post, the other bar is the far away bar. Same thing here, we'll just put a little bit of grease onto the part that's going to connect to the side plate. This would be your next up piece. That one piece goes over the stud on that lever that we just were on, and it lands under this case here. Let's take a look at the pinion gear assembly. Again, clean. You're going to notice that there is a ramped side to this right here. It might be hard to see on the video, but there's a sloped top to this assembly. That goes towards the spool, as does this piece with the side slots cut into it. Inspect the teeth on this pinion gear. Make sure they're uniform and clean. They are. We're going to just put a nice healthy coating of grease onto that piece. Remember what we said, the sloped side goes in, the slotted side goes in. So that's the assembly of the yoke. With that in place then, just guide the yoke over the two studs that are here, and then we can attach the spring tensioner. You need to align that to the two posts in the case, press down, and that essentially is your spring tensioner. Let's take a look at the main gear assembly. Again, we don't know quite why it's not turning, but that shouldn't be an issue here. This is your main gear assembly. A little bit of old grease on the bottom plate there, which is your kick lever plate or trip ratchet plate, or goes by any number of names. Click ratchet is probably the one you'll find on a schematic. I just want to get the old grease off of that. That will sit here on the stem. I want to make sure your stem is clean. A light coating of grease there. Then your ratchet is going to go on. And you can see how this little tag is going to come down, and it's going to flip into one of these cavities, and then this will trip it out. Well, this looks like pretty much a new reel. I'm going to remove the washer, which goes next. And so this video will apply to more than this particular reel, because this is the basic setup that Abu is using in their Ambassadors. Check the teeth on your main gear. I was wondering maybe if it was stuck because there was some kind of debris in one of the teeth. That's not the case. Get a good amount of grease. You don't have to get it in every tooth. The fact that the pinion gear is a lower diameter than the main means that it will travel on different paths and will touch all the teeth over time and spread it out. These are hard washers. You do not need to lubricate those. And refrain from bending them as well, because the washers are rather fragile. Just make sure that they are not stuck to the mains. So the first one in is called a keyed washer. It's a round washer with a rectangular center. This is your second washer. This is a traditional 6 washer system. The middle washer is an eared washer. The third drag washer. And then you have a bell washer here. It's a same thing as a keyed washer, but the top is raised. That comes up top. And then the spacer, or the sleeve, which is also going to act as the inner collar for the clutch. The anti-reverse clutch will go in. So I guess the one thing we want to make sure of is that it's not the anti-reverse clutch that's stopping this. I don't think it is, but we're going to find out. Okay, now we can just reinstall the case. Simply roll it over the top, align the pieces with the 2 holes for those screws. Go ahead and go to the parts tray and get the 2 screws that belong there as the tie downs, and we know they're the same length because we made a note of that on the way out. Well, that's one. This is the other. This is a good time to tell you or ask you if you have any questions. Please leave them in the comment section. I do try to answer them. I can, I'll try to help you out. Sometimes it's just information on particular reels. Other times folks want to know about a particular problem you're having in servicing their reel, and I try to answer those questions for you. I also try to answer them in the mornings. So if you're sending something in at night, please be patient. I do try to get back to you, but it's normally the next morning before I get set for the day. We have that adjuster cap, the side gas control, that goes on next. The two tension washers are in. They're curved washers. Don't attempt to straighten them out. And I put them belly to belly. They provide tension for the star adjuster here in terms of how quickly and how tight it'll go versus a little bit more give. That's on. Next up then comes the tie down for the handle, tension washer. I'm going to hold the handle now, make sure I tighten down that drag more. And we're kind of reversing the process right now. We're going to put that E-clip back on. Quite honestly, Jeremy, I didn't see what, I know you tried and I know I felt it and it wasn't operating, but I'm not quite sure what it is. If it doesn't work this time, I'm going to say you may have had the anti-reverse clutch out and installed it backwards, but then again, it wasn't turning backwards when I did it either. Okay, let's turn the handle, see if the handle turns. It does, so I'm not quite sure what that issue may have been, but we've got it turning again. And maybe it's something when we put the spool on in that. As I mentioned, one of the common problems that often gets overlooked is that those brakes get trapped in the race, and that clearly will not be a way to make the reel work. It will stop it. So when you go to install here, make sure that these brakes are pulled in. They're centrifugal brakes, it's old school. And when you go to install, make sure you pull the handle out. This pin at the bottom of the handle needs to be inserted into the hole here when you go to merge the side plate. So the only way you can do that is by holding the tension out on this as you go to align it. Alright, we're going to take the side plate then. I'm going to try and align everything, get that piece in. I'm going to back off the tensioner here. And we'll see what we can do. Okay, the gloves are off. Let's review what we did and give it a test. So we started with the reel that was stuck. We opened it up. We showed you the entire service process for this. We started by checking out the idler gear, oiled the bearings in the spool, removed the pawl and cleaned that, cleaned our worm drive, disassembled the case. We showed you the pinion gear assembly, the trip lever assembly, and the main gear. They all looked good. And we took a look at the brakes on the spool itself, and they looked like they were pretty mangled. So I would assume that the issue with this reel was that the brakes on the spool were jammed in the ring, the race on the inner part of that we showed you earlier. And well, now we'll just kind of give it a test. First and foremost, it just spins nice and easily, so we've rectified the issue. Secondly, we want to make sure that the free spool release works. It does. And well, we've got a fully operational reel again. So I hope you've learned from that. Check those brakes whenever you're reinstalling these Ambassadeur side plates. That goes a long way towards making this reel efficient and effective. And overall, it will help you service the reel and keep it fishing for a long time to come. So I hope you've enjoyed that. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. Your efforts are appreciated. To everyone, please keep your fishing tackle ready to go, because you're never quite sure when the run will be on. To everybody, wishing you tight lines, well on the water, and enjoying the hobby of reel repair. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.